Hey everyone, we are back for what is arguably one of my favorite spider villain characters of all time, and I don't think I'm alone with this, and that would of course be Carnage. This is a figure that I have been looking forward to quite a bit. I don't have his previous release in the line, so this is a new figure for me. I'm definitely very, very excited to tear this one open. He is in our white box, so you see him there in the window. We get the Venom logo down on the bottom. We've got the Carnage nameplate. And on the back, we've got Carnage himself, a write-up. We've got the product lineup. And of course, we have that Build-A-Figure. So let's pull this guy out and dig in. All right, guys, here he is out of the package and in the plastic, so to speak. Carnage, Cletus Cassidy, and this is one that I have been looking forward to for quite a while. When he initially came out, ways back, I wasn't really actively buying Legends, so I never got him. His prices were very stupid on the aftermarket. I mean, he's Carnage, he's a big-name Marvel character, so I'm not too surprised. But now I'm finally happy to get him in my hands. He has a whole mess of stuff we've got to talk about, and we are going to kick things off, as usual, with Articulation. So let's see how this guy moves around. He's going to be pretty standard in terms of articulation. You're not really going to be surprised here, I imagine. The head is going to swivel left and right. It's on a ball hinge. Up, down. He's got good wide range of motion in that regard. He has no side to side or anything like that. Arms go all the way out. Swivel. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, pretty good range of motion. We have got hinged and rotating wrists, so all very standard stuff. He can go backwards just a little bit, but he can go forwards quite a bit as well. Waist twist, legs go out only yay far, kick forward, kick back, thigh cut, double jointed knees. We have got boot cut, shin swivel, and then we've got rocker and hinge at the ankle. The only thing I would really mention on this, and you know, it could be my figure, is some of my joints are a little loose. Mostly the waist twist, it's really loose actually, but it clicks in place when you have it kind of forward facing, so it doesn't really matter there. Other than that though, thighs are a little bit on the loose side, but not in the way that they make him fall down or anything like that. I've not had any real instability issues. It's just something to point out because I have noticed it while playing around with him. Now, in terms of the overall look and feel of this guy, I gotta say that I am about 95% satisfied with how this figure looks. He is on the Bucky cap body, if you didn't know or couldn't tell, but that honestly isn't a negative here. It works pretty well. Proportions are okay. I don't think it's the wrong body to use for this particular figure. I would always have liked to have gotten butterfly joints on Carnage because he is rather agile, but this doesn't prove to be a negative for him anyway. My one big gripe, before we talk about the rest of the figure and what I think about how he looks, is the same kind of issue that I had recently with Lady Deadpool. If you saw that review, you know that her reds on her body were not the same color. And that's the same thing going on here. The limbs and the head are not the same color as the chest. So this is a slightly more muted and darker color, and this is brighter. The best place to tell is at the thigh cut. This is brighter and this is darker. It may be slightly difficult to pick up on camera. And honestly, it's pretty difficult to pick up in person, but I've taken it into various lighting sources and different hues and different types of light just to see if it is similar or different, and it's definitely not the same. It's not a huge deal because it's honestly kind of hard to pick up unless you're kind of right on top of him, but it is something that I have noticed, and you know, now I can't not notice it. Beyond that though, I think he looks pretty solid. I'm really, really happy with the way he looks otherwise. I like these clawed hands. I really like this head sculpt. It's very, very Carnage, very menacing. He's got that open, kind of snarling but smirking look, almost like he's, you know, insane, because I guess that would fit. He's got all these little tendrils that are coming off the body, which work really well for Carnage because he's a little more alive, I guess, so to speak, than some of the other symbiotes. He's a little more unrestrained. And then we've got this big tendril dealie on the back, and it just pegs in here and make it look like he's got a little more coming off the backside. And speaking of the backside, he is painted up on the back. This black paintwork works really well. I think it's pretty solid. You know, it's classic Carnage in terms of the red and black color scheme, and I like the fact that they went the extra mile to paint him so much on the backside of the figure. The front is equally well done. I'm overall very happy with this paint job. I'm really happy with the way the face turned out. It's very striking. That white is very, very deep and works well against the contrast of the black. So yeah, outside of the kind of color mismatch issue, and it's really faint. Let me stress the fact that it is pretty faint. It's not as bad as the Lady Deadpool. It's just the same kind of issue. That's why I referenced that. Otherwise, this figure is pretty solid. And you know, I'm a longtime Carnage fan, longtime symbiote fan. They've always been some of my favorite things and characters in the Marvel universe. And I think this is a great comic rendition in plastic of Carnage here. I'm very, very satisfied with how he looks. Now, of course, I did mention that he has a mess of accessories, and this guy does come with a handful, literally and figuratively. We have got an extra hand, we've got an axe weapon, a scythe type weapon, we've got an extra head, so you can make a lot of different, particularly distinct looks with this figure, depending on how you configure this. The most basic thing he comes with is this extra hand. It's got some little tendrils coming off of it, but it's basically the same kind of hand we were seeing previously, just in a bigger fashion. So, you know, it's him using the symbiote to grow that hand a lot more, you know, stabby, basically. So he's ready to throw down when he's got that. But then we've got this big monster, and it's him with a fist hand, and I initially thought that there was no hand. I thought it was just the whole thing was going to come out, but I like this. So this is the right hand, and it's his fist, and the symbiote is being used to come out of the top of the hand to make this giant, like, axe type, scythe type weapon, and I really, really dig it. I think it's fantastic. It's a really cool, versatile accessory, very dynamic, so it is very good for taking photos, and I think this is what I'm going to use on the shelf, at least, you know, maybe this one and maybe a regular hand. But I really, really like this. It's very cool, very classic Carnage, you know, because he's always doing something like this to use the symbiote to make, you know, deadly, deadly weapons, and this is fantastic. I'm really glad they included something like this, but of course there is the head to talk about. So in the same way that we got an Eddie Brock head with Venom, we are getting a Cletus Cassidy head with Carnage, and I think this is just fantastic. I said, you know, pretty spot on that the Venom head, the Eddie Brock head, looks fantastic. It looks like a great comic interpretation of Eddie Brock, but is too big. This is a fantastic interpretation of Cletus Cassidy, and it's pretty well correctly sized. I don't have any true issues with sizing on this one. We've got that nice kind of muted red hair, those bushy eyebrows, and he just looks absolutely insane. The eyes kind of shimmer in the light, so he looks like he's looking back at you, and those nasty teeth are just gritting, and he's ready to throw down. I'm really, really happy with this. I don't know that I'm actually going to display him with this head because, you know, I mean, I always want the symbiote head to be shown on my shelf. But it makes me want to get a second figure because I really, really do think that this is a fantastic head sculpt, and they kind of went above and beyond by making this just a pack-in accessory. So yeah, overall, I think I am about as happy with this figure as I could be. He does, of course, have that one issue that I did mention in reference to the slightly mismatched color tones on the body versus the limbs. It's not nearly as bad as the Lady Deadpool that I have recently reviewed, so it doesn't stand out quite as much, but it's just an odd problem to have, especially since they've made this figure before. Beyond that, though, I dig just about everything about it. I like the paint job as far as the black goes. I like the extra tendrils. I like the axe blade. I like the extra head. I like all the hands. I mean, he's a very robust package when it comes to a Carnage figure, and I am a longtime symbiote fan, so this is one that I have definitely wanted for quite a while, and I am so happy to finally have him alongside the rest of the crew. So that's going to do it for this look at the Marvel Legends Carnage figure from Hasbro. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.